going on, guys? I think we're live. Just let us know we're live. Yeah, we're live. Here we go. All right, so welcome to the show, guys. Thanks everyone tuning in. Got a lot of viewers. It's been a busy week for nationalism, hasn't it, Stephanos? A lot of views.
Yeah, it's been a big week.
Yeah. The 60 Minutes expose.
Yep, part 2 tomorrow, so that'll be interesting as well.
We'll get into that in a second, fellas. We're just going to talk about I'll sentence to prison again for the second time for the same offence. This time I got nearly a maximum penalty. Was 10 weeks, which is 2.5 months. The maximum penalty for this crime is 12 weeks. So if you're to put that into perspective, you remember the Milo fight? I think we got one charge of a fray. I think the maximum sentence for a fray is 15 years. So to put that into perspective, it would be about 14 years I would have got for a fray if the sentencing was the same. So I got pretty much a maximum penalty. So it was what I was expecting, but we'll get into the case because what happened during the court proceedings was kind of amazing. The magistrate's decisions were amazing, and also the definition, the legal definition of a religion, which wasn't even my question to the court. The legal definition of a religion was from a tax case with the Scientology case versus the state for tax reasons, and the explanation she gave to them being a church, a legitimate church, a lawful church, could be applied to basically anybody, the NSN. I'll get into that later when we go through, but Mehdi took some notes from the case. I'll get him to kind of lead the way with his notes. I didn't take too many notes that day. So Mehdi's going to go through the notes of the case, and I'll get into what occurred through the trial, the 3-day trial, where I represented myself and I cross-examined all the witnesses to the disdain of the court. But yeah, what did you notice from the case, Mehdi? What does your notes say?
Yeah, I'm just going to just read off the notes because I was at the court case on the WebEx forum. That's done online. And before I get into it, I want to ask, because I basically wrote everyone's name down, Ferdinand's, Pollock, etc. Those are the people that were interviewed, witnesses who were cross-referenced, etc. So before I read the notes, I'm going to ask you who each person is. So Pollock, who's that?
Pollock is the informant, the investigating officer. And he was actually from a high position at the Burundura police station. He's in the major crimes division. So he would investigate bank robberies, attempted murders, possibly even, maybe murders. He'd start an investigation. These are high-ranking detectives. And he was tasked with organising the investigation and being the informant of the investigation. Ferdinand, he was the prosecutor. Smart dude, but a bit arrogant. But he was the prosecutor who conducted the case against me.
Cool. All right, then. So when Pollock was interviewed, he mentioned that on the day of the incident, he believed that there was an expectation that communion was going to occur. There was going to be communion. And he mentioned that, there was grape juice to represent the blood of Christ and also bread, etc., the body of Christ. And he also mentioned that when you came in, you entered a very gentle environment. That's an official quote that he used, gentle environment with a raised voice. And you also mentioned that the term sodomite was very rude because you called them sodomites. And he said that that's a very rude term, even though that term is mentioned in the Bible probably, more than a dozen times, I'm assuming. So he's basically saying that the word sodomite is rude, yet he's a Christian, doesn't even realize that that's mentioned in the Bible numerous times. Also, he mentioned that you were intimidating and that everyone was distressed when they got home after the incident, especially when they saw the live video. So during the incident, they didn't really know that you were live streaming the whole thing. But when they found out after that you had live streamed it on on the internet that made them even more stressed. So, care to comment about any of that?
To add further to that, he actually said in the brief of evidence that it was a LGBTI safe space. So for anyone coming in late on this, I was charged with disturbing religious worship. And this is not, and I'll get into my defense because it's very important. My defense isn't that this didn't occur or it wasn't me, etc. My defense is related to their legitimacy as a church and whether they're protected under this particular law. But it was what they would call a service. I would call a group of people meeting together to promote sin and sodomy, which goes against Christianity. But he did say it was a safe space and that I was invited in. I was allowed to talk. I talked. It was a discussion night, which they advertised themselves on their website. There was no mention of worship or religion in their advertisement of the event. It was a Mother's Day event. It was on Mother's Day. So I won't show the video, obviously. I don't want to show the video on this stream, but I went in and I said, they're a fake church. They're fake Christians. They're supporting sodomy, which is against Christianity, 100%. Like I think there's like one or two people in the whole Christian religion who aren't even in the religion, but they claim to be Christian and support gay marriage. So to get further to that, I'll briefly discuss what my defense was, and you can understand why those certain news articles come out where Neil Erikson was using the Henry VIII laws to defend himself in court, which, what an idiot, why would you use that? And even the magistrate said in one instance, she said, can we stick to this century, Mr. Erikson? This is totally, like this magistrate, and she had shorter hair than me too, by the way, and her name was Ms. Bolger. So I don't need to say anything further. I'm not trying to be disparaging towards the magistrate, but I'm pretty sure she's not of the heterosexual club. Yeah. But anyway, all of our Australian laws are based off English common law. All of them, except for the recent laws, yeah? So this charge of disturbing religious worship first appeared in 1901 around Federation in Queensland. And it was derived from two acts from England. Now, these acts happened to be created in 1600 and 17 or 1800. The two acts are the Toleration Act and the Places of Worship Act. In both of them acts, it says clearly that this charge, and it quotes the charge, identical, 3 months to press a charge, exact wording of the charge. Those who are protected from this law are those who are approved, authorized, and lawful or licensed to conduct services or worship. This is not a freedom of religion example from the Charter of Human Rights, where everyone has a right to do what they want in Australia, okay? Technically. If you want to pretend you're a religion, that's fine. You can do what you want. But you are not protected under this law. This is my argument. And in them two acts that created the charge of disturbing religious worship, it said quite clearly that it had to be someone who used their services, who were approved. There was a list of churches who were approved too. So Islam wouldn't have been approved because they're a foreign ideology. Also, Quakers and certain Catholics wouldn't be protected under this law. These were created not as a toleration, as they claim, or acceptance of different religion. This was created as a extortion of certain religious organizations. You had to pray for the crown and her successors. You had to, every service you had to pray for the crown. You had to be licensed. You had to pay a fee, and you had to swear an oath to the crown. Now, the magistrate went crazy about this. Oh, they have to swear an oath. Yeah, they do. Just as government ministers do, they swear an oath to the crown because we're still under the crown control. Just as police officers have to swear an oath to the crown, these religious leaders also have to swear an oath to the crown. It's a swearing of your position. And their position as religious leaders or clergymen, they need to swear on that. And they also need to be proclaimed. Because what also I brought out in the court case or the trial is that no one in this alleged church is ordained legally in Australia. There's during the Marriage Act, you have to be listed. If you want someone to marry people in a religious setting, not as a civil celebrant, as a religious setting, you either have to be licensed to do so, or you need to be ordained by a recognised denomination in Australia. This fake church called the Metropolitan Community Church is neither. the so-called minister of this church, she's only registered to conduct civil celebrancy to solemnize marriages as a civil celebrant in a non-religious setting. This church isn't even registered as a legal denomination by the Governor General. And I don't want to get into this like common law Governor General stuff, but this actually is legit. You need to be recognised legally in Australia to practice religion and receive all the benefits of a religion, all the protections, if you are proclaimed by the Governor General as a lawful religious denomination and as a lawful minister who can conduct religious ceremonies. And that includes communion, that includes baptism, that includes all sorts of things. And what is interesting, I don't know if you've got questions about this, but I'll get into it briefly here. Under cross-examination, one of the witnesses, the one who was talking at the time at the church who allowed me to speak, Matthew Papau, we can say their names in this stream now, it's already in the media. Matthew Papau is a member of this organisation, this church, so-called church, and he conducted a communion only a few months ago, and I found a video of it online. So I asked this so-called minister, Susan Townsend, can any member of this church conduct rites and sacraments? And she said, yeah, anybody can. This is not a Christian organisation. So at the end, the magistrate, I gave her a few questions. I said, first, we have to define what worship is, because there's no legal definition of worship. Nowhere in any cited case in Australia, except for one High Court case, which I'll get into later. But she brought up a tax code case, as I mentioned before, Scientology, which, if you just want to go on briefly, Stephanos, I'll go into the actual quotes that she said, which defines a religion. Now, mind you, this is not defining if they're protected under this law, if they're a religious body legally. This is just saying that they have the right to receive tax exemptions. This has nothing to do with solemnizing marriages, nothing to do with conducting communion or rites and sacraments. So I'll look that up now if you want to get into it a bit.
Okay, cool. Then you, after this is we're still on Pollock. You after Ferdinand's interviewed him, you cross-examined him as well. So that's the way it works. The prosecutor interviews a witness, and then Neil cross-examines. And then you asked him about the incident, and you basically asked whether he wanted to make an official complaint after the incident. And Pollock admitted that he did not want to make an official complaint. And essentially,
no, he was the informant. He said everyone conceded that the witnesses did not want to make an official complaint the night of the incident.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, but when they saw, apparently what changed their mind, according to them, was that when they saw the footage of them online, and also when they knew that your profile, that you've done this before in Sydney, they said that they wanted to make sure it doesn't happen again, and they thought they'd make an example of you. That's what they're saying. But do you think that there's other reasons as well?
Well, yeah, we'll get into this. There was definitely a lot of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. I don't know if I'll share the emails. I'll probably just read them out. It'll probably be a little bit easier. So the night of the incident, the witnesses did not want to make a police complaint. And that all changed later. I won't get into it too much. There's some videos where I touched on this, but basically the witnesses didn't want to make a complaint at all. But they sent around an LGBTI liaison officer, which is basically a political commissar. Now, they used to have them in Soviet Russia and in communist countries. And basically their role was to infiltrate all organizations of power. So it come from the military. So they'd have them in different ranks of the military. And they were political, basically a snitch. And you'd have them in the police force, you'd have them in government, you'd have them in the local milk bar. And their job was to make sure everyone kept pushing a certain political ideology. If anyone stepped out of line, they were in a position to either punish that person or to adopt that person into higher authorities. So the Victorian police have got positions called LGBTI liaison officers. They're gay cops or supportive of gay cops, and they basically, their whole job is to liaison with the gay community. Now, this goes against all of their sworn oath and affirmation. They're not meant to favour or show ill will. And they're showing favour to a very small percentage of the population. Now, they sent in not one, but about 3 LGBTI liaison officers. One, Gabby Tayaki, who went to the witnesses after they didn't want to make a complaint, went to their alleged church, which they rent. It's not even their church, by the way, too. They rented from the Uniting Church. They rent space. They have it later in the night because they're not allowed to have it in the morning because it's not their church. So she goes in and wears a modified Victorian police uniform in the rainbow colours, which is the pro-sodomite movement, which is a political movement. So here you got officers wearing a political uniform, meeting with the witnesses, along with about 8 other cops who I'll get into further into this video, who were all conspiring to have me charged. They wanted me charged. And specifically, one email mentions that a counter-terrorism officer, I don't know why counter-terrorism were involved, Mark McCann, was keen for the witnesses to get statements. Now, what's interesting is the 2 attending officers and under cross-examination that come out, they took 4 witness statements from the witnesses and hid them from me for 2 years. This was prior to an investigation. They had detailed witness statements. These weren't just notes. These were witness statements. And funnily enough, they did not take any police notes, which is strange and odd. The magistrate thought it didn't matter. The magistrate said, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about corruption. We're just going to try you on the charge. Who cares if they tainted the whole investigation? Sent around evidence, which I didn't receive. And there's a lot of evidence that I still haven't received. And it's quite clear a lot of the witnesses were prepped and they knew exactly what to say under cross-examination. A lot of them lied, and I can prove this. But at the end of the day, this whole case was totally a Victorian police operation. They had a target, which was me, and they went after me. And they procured witness statements. They managed the witnesses to say certain things and to have a certain angle on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also mentioned that they had to invest in counselling sessions after the incident. And I think because basically that church apparently protects Christians who are gay or something.
No, this was a bit worse than that. They actually got, who was a minister at the time, not a political minister, a appointed minister for the, the Human Rights Council, for the Gender and Sexuality Commissioner, Ro Allen, who's a flaming, short-haired butch person. She was appointed to organise the counselling session. Now, she's also best friends with one of the coppers, one of the LGBTI coppers. Funnily enough, as well, this LGBTI police officer was friends on Facebook with one of the key witnesses. And all of these witnesses were all Facebook friends with Ro Allen, the LGBTI minister. So it's a total mix of like political agendas, political motivations to get me charged. This wouldn't be so bad because this charge is actually not serious at all. It's a maximum 3 months. It's lower than trespassing. It's half of trespassing. So if you went to a shopping centre and you were told to leave 2 times and you didn't, you'd get a trespassing charge. Now, would you do 3 months jail for trespassing once? No. But yet I got a maximum penalty. And the reason she did that, and she stuffed up too, because it was brought out that I had done this before in Melbourne with the Muslim prayers, where I went to jail for 1 month. I said to Your Honour, I said, you can't use this in sentencing because this happened prior to this incident, and I wasn't convicted prior to this incident, so you cannot use this. But I have already served 1 month imprisonment, so I have learnt my lesson. I haven't done anything in 2 years. That was part of my sentencing submission. And Your Honour said, all right, we'll get it up. We'll get the case up. And then she said, you've done this before. That's it. Maximum penalty. I need a deterrent on you. She can't use that. You can't use it. This literally, the incident with the Muslims happened on April 12, 2019. The incident with the alleged gay church happened on May 12, 2019, which happened after. So she's using something that occurred before, that I wasn't even through the court yet. I wasn't even charged, actually, until this. So she can't use that. So that's part of the appeal as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And also, Pollock was asked by you if they were a lawful denomination in Australia, and he said yes. And also, that's about it for that one. But I was going to make the point that when they said the counselling sessions for the trauma that you caused, they claimed that some of their members are gay Christians, so to speak. And when they saw the video, apparently family members of them saw a video, and that's like outing them as gays, apparently. So that's the reason why they were so traumatized by it, because they felt that you had exposed them to their families for being gay. But that's what they're claiming.
I think that's a bit of a stress. Are we?
Yeah.
The other thing is,
I don't know. Yeah.
The other thing is, I got no problem with people being gay. Like I do, like religiously. But if you claim to be a Christian and preach Christianity, you can't be gay. That's my issue. If they want to be gay somewhere in a gay club, go for it. More power to you. But don't go deceiving, worshippers of Christ that you are a Christian, because you're not. You cannot be a Christian and promote sodomy or sin. But we're going to touch on the Brenton Tarrant, when the magistrate called me Tarrant by accident. And the references, yeah. So during the it took an amazing U-turn, this whole trial on the last day, the closing arguments, and one of the two of the witnesses' comments. So the brief of evidence, all their statements were just that this guy calm. You could see the video; they weren't scared. They all jumped up. They were violent against me. But under cross-examination, all of a sudden, this it wasn't in their statements, nowhere. All of a sudden, they all just started saying, I thought he had a gun. I thought he was armed. This was around when Brenton Tarrant did that thing in New Zealand. The prosecution brought it up, and the magistrate even called me Tarrant by accident on one of the, I think it was the second day or the first day. And someone picked that up who was watching. She called me Tarrant. So I was tried because of Brenton Tarrant, but this had nothing to do with that. I wasn't armed. It was clear I wasn't armed. In none of the evidence I was armed, but yet the witnesses all claimed I was armed, and they kept referencing the Christchurch attack.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. And they also mentioned, I think one of the witnesses said that what happened sort of after New Zealand, and basically because of that, they basically falsely equated you with Tarrant just because you walked into a church, Tarrant walked into a mosque, and it happened like within 6 months of that incident. There's some sort of a moral, equivalence between you and Tarrant, which is obviously bullshit, especially given that
that's a stretch.
He actually called you out. He didn't actually like you as a person, Tarrant. So.
Well, I was going to bring that up in the case. Me and Tarrant had a public online disagreement. He didn't like what I was about, so there you go. But the other thing is, no, I'm not a ranger, Iron. I'll get into comments soon. But the other thing to mention is, so this church, all right, I'm going to get into this church, or this alleged church, because it's kind of strange. There's multiple churches that rent space from the West Hawthorn Uniting Church. There's another church, like a Chinese church, Christian church, alleged church. They all rent space from them. Now, if you go to the Metropolitan Community Church, ACA, what is it? The taxation for corporate, because it's a corporation. It's not a religion. It's actually registered under corporation. They received like $4 million when they first started. $4 million popped up, and then it left their accounts. So I don't know who's funding this, and I think I don't want to make any assumptions, but it seems very dodgy. And also, it's good to mention, after they pressed charges or made complaints, Daniel Andrews gave them $20,000 in funding, in a grant, to buy a computer. So they received financial money from Daniel Andrews, who I've obviously had a big history with. He doesn't like me. And also organised for the minister to be a minister to help with this case. It's like this, man. The whole case is just, let's get Ericsson. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right then. And in terms of, I'll just go over some notes a bit more. Okay, I'll just move on to number 3. So, Matthew. There was a witness called Matthew. Is that correct?
Yeah, Matthew Papau was the male that gave me permission, because this is I need to make this absolutely clear. I was invited in. I asked a question. I said, "Could I add to this?" Sorry, I didn't ask a question. I said, "Can I add to this?" He said, "Yes." He gave me the floor. I started asking whether they married gays, and then it became into a heated discussion. And it was advertised to have a discussion at that event. So when they gave me the maximum sentence, I didn't come in bursting in with a megaphone like I, have done in the past, and flip tables and start screaming. I was actually a part of the event. I was invited in. I was a part of it. So I was a part of it. They allowed me to talk. I talked. I had the floor. If anything, my worship was disturbed. If you think about it, because I had the floor. So for them to give me a maximum sentence for that is insane. It's totally insane.
Yeah. Also, in terms of Matthew, I think it was the first Ferdinand interviewed him, he mentions that you asked about the bylaws. Let's talk about that. So you asked Matthew Powell if they follow the bylaws, and he said yes. Can you expand on that?
So basically, a big part of the prosecution's evidence to prove that they were a religion is they had bylaws, and these bylaws were made overseas in Canada because they're not registered as a legal denomination here in Australia. Their charity status isn't even religious status; they're a corporation, and they follow bylaws that are foreign, which goes against the two acts that created the charge of foreign religion. But anyway, in their bylaws, it states quite clearly only the minister can conduct rites and sacraments. And the reason I say rites and sacraments is because rites and sacraments technically is worship if it's legal. So I asked the witness, can any member do rites and sacraments? She said yes. And I read out the bylaws and it says only the minister can, who is licensed, which she's not licensed. This whole alleged church, it's like a scam. These people can't marry people religiously. They'll have a religious setting, but she's doing it civilly. This is not a church. These people can't be protected. And that is the point of it. So when they had their bylaws, they don't even follow their own bylaws because they had Matthew Papel, who was a member of the church, conducting communion on a live stream, which it goes against their own bylaws. But they just kept saying, yep, nah, we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to do anything. If you ask any Christian priest or minister, can someone from the church in the gallery can come up and just do a baptism? No, you can't. It has to be... And saying that, even if their bylaws did say that any member can do it, their bylaws are irrelevant. As I said before, they're made overseas. They're not registered with the government as a denomination. They're not legal bylaws here. So there is no reason for me to follow them or even them to be used as evidence in the case at all.
Yeah, and you also had I think you presented a photo of Matthew giving communion. There was a YouTube clip you took
I was going to play. It was very hard to conduct a fair defense because it was online. The magistrate even told me at one point I can't even post photos, but I pulled her up on it later. And then the magistrate, it's interesting, I'll bring this up. The magistrate started to say, "Are you Christian, Neil? What are you Christian or something?" I said, "Your Honour, I'm not under," because when you're in a court case, you don't have to say anything. I'm letting the prosecution's case speak for itself, and I'm cross-examining witnesses to pull apart their case. I'm not under cross-examination. You can choose not to be under cross-examination. So the magistrate kept hitting me up. "Are you Christian? What was your motivations? I need to know what the video..." I go, "Your Honour, I don't have to answer that." And she's like, "What do you mean you don't have to answer that?" And I said, under the Constitution, Section 116, it means the Commonwealth can't give you any religious tests. You're testing my religion. You can't do that. You can't even ask what religion I am. She goes, "I need to know." She was breaking so many rules during the trial, but I think what she was trying to do, she was trying to embarrass me or hit me with some religious question that I didn't know the answer to or something. I think that's what her intention was. But let's just go back because I got this up now. This is the Scientology case that she used in her decision. Now, my question to Your Honour, because basically in a court proceeding, it's very good in your submission to ask the magistrate questions. All right, they don't want you to berate them. Ask them, what is worship? Because worship is a key part of this charge, disturbing people lawfully assembled for worship. Because the charge reads, you can't legally disturb people lawfully meeting for religious worship or lawfully officiating. My question to the magistrate was, what does lawfully officiating mean? Now, what I read it, when you read the acts that created the charge, because another thing you've got to understand is we have charges such as common assault. Okay. Now, common assault, you don't need to go as far back as 1600 with common assault because we've got cited cases in Australia. because people have been charged of common assault. At least 100 people get charged of common assault every day. So they've tested it through the court. So there's no need to go all the way back. The problem with this law is it's rarely used and it's rarely tested in the high court. So that's why I had to go back to the 1600s to get the true essence of the charge. So when what was I getting to? I've lost my train of thought. So when what I was getting to is so lawfully assembled for religious worship and lawfully officiating. So what I said to Your Honour, I said, what is worship? Because it hasn't been legally defined, and I'll get to that in a second. And then the second question was, what would constitute unlawfully officiating? Because that you got to ask that question. Now, is it lawful, meaning you're not breaking the law at the time? Or does it mean when you're driving without a license in a car, what is it called? It's called unlawfully licensed or unlawfully operating a vehicle. It means you have to be authorized and licensed. So if you're not authorized and licensed to conduct or to officiate or to meet for religious worship, then you aren't protected by the law. So I gave her these questions. This is what she used. And the funny thing is I sent a cited case to the prosecution, which I didn't even use. They used it for me. I was going to, but I'll use it on appeal. They used it for me, which it actually helps my case. It was a case back in the 60s where the judge in that case read out the dictionary definition of religious worship, but he also goes on to say, I would not even attempt to define what worship is, and threw the case out because he did not want to define it. Because once he says what it is, that's law now. So what the magistrate did a trick, yeah? She didn't answer any of my questions or bring up any of my defense. She just basically said, in the case of Scientology versus the state for tax purposes, and she did that on purpose because it's not relevant to criminal cases. One, whether adherents subscribe to a belief in a divine being. So if you look at NSN, they believe in Hitler. Okay. Two, where they follow the tenets of an organized religion. Now, organized religion doesn't mean another religion; it means your organized religion, and they do follow the tenets. Mein Kampf. Three, where that belief is accompanied by particular rites and observances. They do the Hitler salute. They, go out there and sing and camp and do other things that are in Mein Kampf. They are a religion according to this. That is the definition she used to say that they're a church. It's totally insane. And in the cited case, the reason that this lefty one, of course, lefties get off on this charge, was against Billy Graham. He was having some sort of concert or prayer concert in the Sydney Myer Music Bowl. The reason she was found not guilty and he threw it out is because some people were drinking alcohol at the event, which isn't very Christian-like. This is what the High Court judge said. Well, my argument is that this alleged church, is promoting sodomy and gay marriage, which isn't very Christian-like. That's why I read out Leviticus. The second issue is, in that case, is the advertisement for the event didn't say worship or religious. The advertisement for the event that I was at didn't say religious or worship. It said Mother's Day, honoring mothers on Mother's Day. Okay, and there was another issue with the worship. What is worship? At that Billy Graham event, they were reading out the Bible. They were singing. They were having hymns. They were saying prayers. That was more of a worship than where I went. So for the prosecution to bring that in as their cited case, it actually helped my case. And Your Honour, when she came out, she goes, "No, this is irrelevant because it happened before the Scientology case." It's not irrelevant because the Scientology case had nothing to do with this charge. This charge is separate to what she believes is a religion. This charge has a certain criteria, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, moving on. David Irvine, he mentioned that I think he organised the gay liaison officer or someone else did, but when he was interviewed by you, cross-examined by you, he did admit that a GLOW officer was organised, went a week after the incident for reassurance purposes, and I was wondering if you can just quickly expand on that and if that impacted the case, you reckon?
Yeah, definitely impacted the case. But I found that the most revealing part of it, hang on, hymns. Yeah, sorry, bro, hymns, iron. But yeah, it's the whole case was shady. If this was like a murder trial or a serious case, this would be really, it'd be brought up. But I subpoenaed 13 officers. My subpoenas were thrown out by a magistrate who had a rainbow flag on her desk. So you can't get justice in Victoria. It's like totally crazy.
Any cop shop you go to, there's always an Aboriginal or gay flag in the foyer. I've only been to one cop shop that hasn't had that. All the other ones I've been to, just standard. Ridiculous. All right. Cool. In terms of everything else, can you go over MCC? Can you explain how what it stands for and how it relates to licensing and all that sort of stuff?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. But MCC is the Metropolitan Community Church of Melbourne, or that church. But I emailed the Australian Christian Association, I think it's called. They have over 3,000 churches as members, as Christian members. When I asked the so-called minister, Susan Townsend, on the stand whether they were part of the Christian Association of Churches, she didn't know. But they're not. I sent an email. They replied back, no, they definitely aren't. And she's not licensed under their organisation to even conduct any rites or sacraments. So, yeah, I think we've talked a bit about it. Unless you got anything pressing to speak about.
I want to say this: Townsend, she was one of the witnesses, correct?
Yeah, she was the alleged minister of the fake church.
Now, remember I said before how they were falsely comparing you to Tarrant and stuff. Again, they're saying here that Townsend made a statement saying that I had no idea if Neil had any weapons on him. Just saying, like, why would you have a weapon? Who carries a weapon into a church?
Well, in saying that,
they just over embellish things. It's obviously not true, but when you say it, it kind of like makes you out to be some sort of extremist.
Well, if they honestly thought I had a weapon, why did they all stand up, grab me, punch me, and Asian punched me in this? Why would they do all that if they thought I had a weapon? This is obviously it's a mistruth, and I was invited in. It's a total mistruth, and it's they were trying to, get the magistrate to give me a maximum sentence. I'll do the maximum sentence if I have to. 3 months, okay. I'll do it. Okay. Yeah. That's what I said to Your Honour. She said, "What say you? When you have the sentencing?" I said, "I'm happy to do prison again, Your Honour, but I'd prefer a fine." It is what it is, man. I only fear God. I don't fear prison either. It is what it is. But let's move on to 60 minutes.
Okay, cool. I had like 2 more points to make, but we can go on about it.
Yeah. I think we've covered it. So anyway, I've appealed the case. I'm going to back to court on the 10th of September at the county court. I have a great lawyer, Cara Bramham. She knows her stuff. She was on The Bachelor. She knows her stuff. So she defended Nolch. So she's helping me out. So anyway, so the 60 Minutes show is quite interesting. I wanted to I won't say too much. I know some things, but I'll let other people speak for themselves. But what was your reaction to the 60 Minutes program?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment too much about sensitive issues either, but I'll just say what most people are thinking. This whole situation, it's obviously proven that Antifa, the media, are all working together, and also intelligence agencies or some sort of government spying agency or authority. They're all, liaising with each other to bring down certain organisations that they think shouldn't really exist and should be disbanded or dissolved. And I just can't get over how they've basically manufactured a story to a certain extent. And like innocent they said themselves, sure, you got us, we're racist. All they've done is just proven that there's a lot of intense, commentary in behind closed doors, which is understandable. I mean, we all go to barbecues every now and then. We all send a text message or write a message to say F this and F that, or I think this should happen. It's not like they were planning any violence, because if they were, they would have been arrested. I mean, as everyone, I think Brad Ingram on David Hitchcock's show last week said that, if anything was illegal, they would have all been arrested. That point's been made a couple of times by, certain people who are involved. And it's absolutely true, and I want to reinforce it here. But it's important people know that if anything was illegal, in all the hours of footage that Mole had captured, they would have been arrested because the government wants to use any excuse to arrest people, to give people that publicity. All they got out of hours of footage was a couple of racist comments made out of context and over embellished, and basically they haven't given a right of reply to NSN, nor will they, because obviously that's how the media works. They want their side of the story. But yeah, I just think it's very annoying because they managed to infiltrate. And I understand that Brad, when I asked him on the stream last week, what sort of measures we put in place, like bug sweeps or strip searches or better vetting practices, and he did sort of say that they're going to be thinking about sort of increasing the vetting process, and I'm assuming that bug sweeps and stuff will be part of that, because I think it's a bit annoying. Let's face it, at the end of the day, when you get infiltrated like that, some people might not want to join now, which is unfortunate. So they might have to ensure that doesn't happen again and basically reinforce their security.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to touch on. Ian brought it up here. I want to touch on this because I want to really get into this. And I'll say what I can say. I know some other things, but I'll just say what's already out there. I'll give Jazz a chance to speak for himself. But I find it interesting. Yeah. So Channel 9, Tom Sewell bashes their security guard. I think this is a revenge on Sewell and the organisation for Sewell basically, embarrassing their security, because that guy was big, yeah? And Sewell took him down, and it didn't look good for him. I mean, to the boomers, maybe Sewell looks like an aggressive dude, but to everyone else out there, they're probably laughing. Like, Channel 9 have really shit security. So I think it was a revenge thing, but I find it really... Oh, thanks, mate. I find it really interesting. So this guy, yeah, they funded him to fund NSN, a group that they didn't claim it in the story, but they inferred that they are some sort of terror cell. So Channel 9, through a third party, funded a terror group in the way they portray them. So that's one interesting thing. Now, this guy was, what's his name? Dave Ryan. He was first reported in the media. I think even our friend, the Vampire, made a post about it. There was a four-wheel drive parked at McDonald's in Bendigo with swastika pictures all over it, or stickers. Had a homophobic slogan on the trailer. It was a big uproar about Nazis taking over. So this guy was driving around with swastikas all over his van. Oh, he's four-wheel drive. And I also find it interesting, there was another car that they filmed, or that someone took a photo of on the Westgate Bridge, I think it was, and it had the same red swastika sticker on it. I wonder if that was part of it too. But so they paid a guy to spread hatred, as they call it, hatred in society, and then used him to undercover some extremist Nazi organization. The other thing is, from what I heard from Jared, I think he said it publicly anyway, this guy was so racist, it made Jared uncomfortable. And he's not even joking. Like, the NSN guys, if you see all the footage, they're not that racist. They say things here and there. We can obviously safely say that they're a white first kind of group. But this guy apparently was like that racist. Like, he entrapped them. He would like ask about, the Q people and ask about certain things and say something himself. And it's interesting they cut that out, obviously. This is a shitty journalism, man, doing this. It's on its face value, it's pretty shitty. And he enticed them into those conversations and got them to say something that was probably less of what he said, from what I've heard. He even tried to start a fight with an Indian guy one night. I think it's on tomorrow night's
at a restaurant. Yeah.
At a restaurant, and there was another incident. So what I've heard is, apparently, from what it looks like, he was trying to goat them into some illegal activity. He was trying to start a brawl to hit the media. And also, I've heard from Brad on the interview, he was there that day at the camping trip where all this shit hit the fan, and he was there in the morning. And then when he left, the only reason that incident occurred is because the left, the anarchists on Twitter, revealed their location. So from what I heard, they went and smashed up their cars, and then those whoever they were caught up in it or planned it or a part of it, there was a fight or some form of aggression from each side. Maybe that didn't happen if Channel 9 didn't pay someone to cause it. So Channel 9 have a lot to answer. Like, forget about whether these guys are racist or Nazis or whatever people are saying. Journalistic integrity, you really think this is okay? I don't know, man. It's fucking dodgy. It's really dodgy. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. But a video's been released of Jared talking with the undercover. That's the other thing I want to bring up. How do they get away with uploading footage filmed in someone's personal home? Because I know when people do undercover ops, it has to be like in a public place. It has to be in a bar or on the street. It can't be like in someone's personal home. There's a lot of legal questions there. So that's called I forget the law. I forget what it's called, tapping or something. I think you can legally record, but to go then and publish to destroy someone's reputation from their own home, there's some legality issues right there. And I think it's really dodgy, man. You got the media establishment, the government, who even Mike Burgess, the chairman of ASIO, whatever his title is, even he said these guys they're not terrorists.
Yes.
But that's what Nick McKenzie actually said. He actually asked him a good question. What do you say to people out there? Who cares if they're racist? They're allowed to be. It's a free country. And he said, yeah, they're allowed to believe whatever they want to believe, but what they believe is wrong. That's mostly what he said. So he answered the question correctly. Yeah, they can believe they can do what they want. But in the other breath, he says, but what they believe is bad.
Yeah.
Why? Like, I thought they could. So it's just, look, what they want to do is, one, cause infighting, which I think tomorrow night's episode is going to do. And Jared will get into that probably in the coming days. So don't go crazy. There's a story behind that. And secondly, they want to dox people to scare them and shut down a legal organization. Now, whatever you think, even the left, whatever you think of them, they're a legal organization. People have been arrested who are associated with them or on trumped-up charges. I know how these cops work, and sparklers left over in someone's garage from the last person. Yeah, I don't know. It's fucking dodgy. The whole thing is fucked up.
Yeah, but it's just amazing. People understand, given what's happened with that mole, is that the extent that what he did to make himself try and fit in and seem like one of the boys, so to speak, he was overtly racist. He tried to pick a fight with an Indian. He gave money for barbecues. He did a lot of things. And apparently he was very liked, apparently, from what I've heard. The point is that, that's something to look out for. If someone's offering money a bit too much, perhaps, or if someone is, a bit too extreme, trying to cause trouble, an incident, that should raise some red flags. So I hope, we all learn from this and make sure we look out for that in the future. But I'm still a bit confused. I could be amazed by ignorance. If you can just clear it up for me. I don't understand. How do we know that the Channel 9 paid this mole to ride around Melbourne in a trailer with a swastika on it? How do we know that he was paid to do it? Maybe the guy did it on by himself.
They admitted it themselves. They didn't introduce him as a leaker when they done the show. I'll rewatch it again, but I'm fairly sure at the start of the program they said we had an undercover who we placed in the group. So they took full responsibility for it. Now, from what I've heard, this guy doesn't seem like a rich dude. He bought meat for the NSN, and from what I've heard, he gave cash to some people. So, and a lot of cash. So the answer to that is the way they conducted, the way he said it in the show. Wasn't that, we've got some leaker who's disillusioned and he's come to us. They said literally he works for us. Like we employed him to go undercover, and apparently the undercover operation was 8 months. The only footage they've released, from what I can see or from what I've heard, is only the last couple of months. So I don't believe he was filming that whole time. I believe he was filming maybe for a month or a month and a half after. But he wasn't very close with them. So when you say, how did this happen? I don't blame him. He's just a hang around. There was nothing really said that I could see that was illegal. You know what I mean? Like, that was like what they were trying to portray. like if they were really as bad as they're saying, I'm sure someone would have said something fucked up. Like, but that wasn't produced by Channel 9. But luckily, this Sunday, I believe the show's probably been squished down because of Afghanistan. They had another show. They had the 60 Minutes program advertised for tomorrow night with another show after. I think it was about the Olympics or something. They had another little segment. I think that's been scrapped. And they're going to be focusing on Afghanistan. So I believe they've told Nick McKenzie to shrink it down, so which is good. But in saying that, the boomers are going to be distressed about this story. But the younger generation, I don't think that it's like that bad. If you look at the younger generation, like, you know, they want to be gangsters or they want to be, you know, edgy. If you look at it, you got Danny who I knew from years ago. Danny, who's like the prison guy. He's friends with like a bikey dude. They fight, they punch on, they're fit. They don't give a fuck. Like, that's something that the youth would be attracted to. So I think, in a sense, they've kind of done themselves a disfavor. And yeah.
But and I've seen it online. I read the Facebook comments, and a lot of people are like, "Yeah, so what? The big deal. All right, they're racist. So what?" So there's a lot of people who are actually quite critical of 60 Minutes for wasting their time on this sort of shit. And even some people were saying, "Oh, why don't you go and infiltrate some communist groups, see what they say?" Because I can guarantee you that what we saw with NSN, imagine what communists say about killing capitalists and literally putting us in gulags. I can 100% guarantee you that's what they're saying behind closed doors. But I see the media infiltrating their groups and exposing, you know, their class warfare, you know, dogma and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, it's coming for them. Like, they can laugh now, that's fine. But if you think they're going to have these restrictions on far right wing groups, etc., as they say, do you think they're not going to have a lamb to the slaughter on the left side? They're going to use one of your groups. It's coming. Because you've got to remember, the Liberal Party, you know, aren't big fans, and it's going to be kind of by two sides of the political spectrum. So they are coming for them. But in saying that, the other thing I wanted to touch on was what was it? Damn it! I just had it on my tongue. I just forgot. But it was very important when it come to. Go on, keep talking. I'll try and remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but basically, I don't understand. You say that they paid this guy, Channel 9 or whatever, to be a mole. I'm not entirely convinced about that. Maybe he was ASIO. Maybe he was an undercover cop with the AFP or the counterintelligence unit. I don't know. But how do we know? Maybe it was an actual cop, because I think that with the camera they had on him was very small. I know you can buy spy cameras online; they're available to the public. But still, like, maybe it was like you know, an ASIO thing or something to do with national security organization. Why are you ruling that out? Do you actually think that that's the case, or do you think it's just some random bloke who was employed by Channel 9? I don't know. It seems more complex than that, and I think it goes deeper than just some guy who just decided to, you know, infiltrate NSN. I honestly think it's an ASIO agent, you know, or some other sort of agent.
It could be. I wouldn't put it past them, but because it's connected with the media, I don't see it being like that. Maybe X, who knows, man.
But then again, maybe you're right, because ASIO agents have protected identity. Maybe I'm wrong, because to be an ASIO agent, you've got to protect your identity. And if, you know, they wouldn't compromise identity like that. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't even think he's from this state, to be honest. I have a feeling he's not from this state. It'd be smart not to have him from this state. Could have just pretended to live here. I don't know, but there was something I was going to really touch on that you brought up just before, but I fucking lost it. But yeah, it's totally it's a massive media beat up. And as Blair was saying, I was chatting to Blair about it. Like, people are angry, man. And when I seen Dave Hitchcock's post on XYZ about the Facebook comments, that's all true, man. Like, I thought maybe he handpicked a few of them, you know, for propaganda reasons. I went over there. People are pissed. They're like,
Yeah.
Why are you talking about these guys? This is irrelevant. Why aren't you talking about, the big things that are going on? And Blair even said, like, they're punching down. The media used to talk truth to power. And they're basically just punching down on normal people. And these people are normal. There's a lot of, the left like to pretend that this is some sort of niche market. There are a lot of what you would call racist people. There really are. And everyone sees race. It's nothing to hide from. Everyone sees race and sees the differences in race. But yeah, it's the media are real scummy now, man. It's like, I wouldn't expect it years ago, but now, everyone's free game. You know?
Well, I know on 60 Minutes Facebook page today or yesterday, they put another 3-minute video just to promote their Sunday program for tomorrow. And I checked the comments as well. We're not joking. It's actually worth looking at the comments. And so many of them are just, whatever, and actually supportive of the boys, which is good. And I'm just glad because it just shows that people are just waking up to the media lies and stuff. And they just know that, I think that it's kind of like a current, 60 Minutes to me is like a bit better than a current affair. And a current affair is really shit. It's the worst journalism ever. And 60 Minutes is just, a bit better, a bit more professional, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, let's not forget these people kidnap some Lebanese girl or something to make a story. They're not clean. Who are they to preach integrity and obeying the law and all this sort of stuff? I mean, if I had to choose between hanging out with racists and hanging out with child kidnappers, I think I know who I'd rather hang out with. And I just hate how people forget that, because that happened 3-4 years ago, I don't know. But I just don't like how there's a very short memory, and that should matter, because who the hell are you to preach integrity and obey the law when you guys have committed way worse crimes?
Yeah, it's a sad thing, but there is hope. Saul's going to get out of prison eventually. He'll just get time served, from what I can see. So he'll be out. He's not going to be locked away forever. Jacobs on bail awaiting his court case. They're all got clean records, from what I know. They should be all right, man. So I don't think it's just a hiccup for their organisation. Not that I'm a part of NSN or anything like that. I support anyone, and I'll support even anarchists if the state was coming down on them at this point. I used to have a very certain ideology, but today, I don't know, I'm a bit more liberal when it comes to rights against the government, because I think I can see, I can see what's happening, and I can see the media and the establishment aren't our friends, anyone's friends, and they're going to come for all of us. So,
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm just receiving all these. Thanks for the super chat, mate. If anyone's got questions, shoot them through now, because I'll wind it up. Relevant questions. Tell us about your new company, Eddie. You have a new company. You've got a factory now.
I wouldn't call it a company just yet. It's just, I've already had 2 or 3 orders, but I got some inspiration from someone who I won't mention, but he helped me out just to get started. He knows who he is, so thanks a lot, mate, for helping out. But I'm seriously considering selling Australian nationalist stickers. I've already sold about 150 of them. The way it works is I'll probably make a Facebook page, sell my YouTube channel, make a video promoting it, maybe other platforms as well. So I'll just quickly show you what I've done already. This is all embryonic. It's only been like 5 days since I've done this, so it's still early days. This one here is a sticker for the Anzacs. So that's that design. This one here is obviously very relevant given what's happening. Spirit of Eureka. They're all in black and white, so it's a thermal printer, so I don't need to pay for ink or anything. It's all just done thermally, but it's still good quality stickers. And the good thing about them is that they're very hard to pull off. So if you put them somewhere, they're very hard to take down, which is great. This one's for Australia Day. Ned Kelly design. Another one for the Anzacs. There you go. And this one here, I've got about 9 designs. I've got more than 9, but these are the politically correct ones. So this is happening probably in the next couple of weeks. I'll set up an email account so people can email me, tell me what they want. But if you're interested now, if you're on Telegram, send me a message on Telegram. Happy to send you some stickers. Very good price as well. I think you get 51 stickers for $15, and also $30 for 100 stickers, and plus some postage fee as well. That's a pretty good deal. And the way I see it, we should promote Australia on the streets, just like Antifa does. There's stickers all over the place that they do. We should promote Australia, Australia Day, Anzacs, everything that we believe in. So when you go for a walk or whatever, have a couple of stickers on you and just, post it, and it helps, change the culture. It does make a difference. So if you're interested, send me a message on Telegram, and subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Zorba Dundee. I'll be making a video about it at some point with my email in that video. So we can get an official order done via email at some point. So just stick to the YouTube channel, Zorba Dundee, for updates, and also Telegram as well. Yeah.
No, good shit. Yeah, go to Telegram. So did you actually say your Telegram name?
Medi. I'll just find Australian Meditations and join the group, and you'll find me. But probably just best to subscribe to Zorba, and I'll do a video about it at some point with my email. Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions here. This one. Yes, I did put gloves on with Saul, and I'll beat him again. I'll beat him again one day. But that's what men do, man. You got a problem with someone, you sort it out like men. Although I didn't do too well, unfit. But Saul said inside, when I was a neighbour of his in Unit 7 of the Melbourne Assessment Prison, he said, I want to see you when I get out at 100 kilos, Erickson. And I'm nearly there. I've lost 7 kilos. I was putting on a bit of weight there for a while, but I've lost 7 kilos in the last probably nearly a month. So I'm going to keep going down. But yeah, we'll put the gloves on again. I said, I'll see you when you get out, and we'll probably put the gloves on again for a bit of fun. But there was a question from Iron, me mate Iron, or no port film. Here we go. What do you think the state will do with COVID restrictions going forward? How extreme will it get, and what can you do? Dude, I have no idea. I'm so surprised it's gone this far, to be perfectly honest. Like, I thought it was ending. Like, I thought after the last lockdown, before all this load of lockdowns, I thought it was done. And Nolchi, I spoke to Nolch, and Nolch was like, nah, there's going to be another lockdown. I'm like, nah, man, that's it. It's done. And I thought the anti-COVID restriction protesters, that movement was finished. But it wasn't. It started up again. So, and they're going crazier now. Like, there was a question Dan Andrews got asked the other night by a journalist who said, when he put in the curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., she asked, what's the data that backs up that people have caught COVID after 9 p.m.? He said, there's no data. I'm just saying, everyone, you're on curfew. Like, there's no data for any of this. But I won't get too much into it. I don't want to get my video taken down. But yeah, the funny thing is, us nationalists are actually all right now on YouTube. Like, I think they're leaving us alone. I think they're going after the new thing. What do you say, Mitty?
I don't know, man. I'm surprised my channel's still up. I try to make sure I abide by the rules. Unfortunately, what's the guy's name? That one, Big Dick Man. What's his name? The guy that did the big dick.
Yeah,
Andy Nolch. He put a video on his BitChute account of him going to the protest. Not this one, but the one from the previous one. And it was pretty funny because he basically live streamed even when he was in the car driving to the protest, and was going on about conspiracy theories and the government and stuff. And I thought it was really interesting because I think Andy's got some really good insights. And I decided to put it on my channel, and I got a strike within an hour for medical misinformation. And it wasn't violent, no violence in it, just Andy going on a rant on, COVID. You can get strikes now for just COVID misinformation, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's strange times. Obviously, none of us have ever seen anything like this. I heard a rumor from someone who's connected to some company that this lockdown and stuff's going to be going till New Year's Eve. They got some internal information. I don't know how legitimate that is. You hear things every day, but I did hear probably New Year's, we're going to be in this kind of lockdown scenario. But I also heard, I won't go too much. I don't want to lose me channel, man, really. I don't hardly use it, but I could go into a lot of shit. Maybe on Telegram I'll say some shit, but yeah, there's a lot of things. I don't think, I think there's going to be more things coming in the next year or two. Okay. And yeah. So unless anyone's got any more questions, shoot them through. There's not many questions. I think everyone's pretty red-pilled. I don't think they really need to ask any questions.
No worries, man. Really good.
All right. Thanks for all the support, guys. And yeah, so I'll be answer my question. I don't know what your question is, bro. I've seen some retarded questions I'm not even going to ask. Yeah, bloody yeah. So court 10th of September. I'm going to be seeking the German, so probably not much will happen there. But if it is 2.5 months, if I'm going to get it, so be it. They have really good food in prison sometimes, like they have meatloaf night at the mat. Fuck, the meatloaf, man, is sick. Like you don't want to miss the meatloaf night and shit. It's like the food's pretty good. Lunch is really good, so I didn't mind it in there. It was all right, other than nearly getting murdered by a bunch of Arabians. But other than that, it was pretty good in there. I advise everyone to go. I gave it 4 stars on TripAdvisor. Yeah, no, I'm not going to damn the Oracle. I'm not going to put that up. Yeah, Troll. The Trolls, that 10th of September is just a mention. The Troll will probably be next year.
Yeah.
All right. So, Medi, anything else, Medi?
No, just everyone stay fit, stay woke. I mean, not stay woke, but I'm talking about stay fit and stay informed.
Have you been working out?
Yeah, the last month and a half, been doing a lot of weights and a lot of bike riding. So yeah, I lost my beer gut almost about half of it. So doing well, man. Doing well.
Yeah, everything in prison is halal. Yeah, but halal just means it's no pork products. So it's not they're not beheading cheese, yeah? They're not beheading Milo. But anyway. All right. Love yous all.
No worries. See you later.
Bye. Hang on, I've got to stop this shit.